All right. Yay. All right, nice. All right, guys, we're going to be starting in 8 minutes. So I'm going to get coffee. I'll be back in a couple minutes. What would be a very good idea right now is I want to set up the meeting so people can come in automatically. I thought I did that. I set the thing where people can just don't have to wait in the waiting room. I don't know, maybe I did it wrong or something. But I would prefer to have it so whenever people are here, right? That way, if I miss somebody or something, they don't have to sit out there and not hear what's going on. All right, Kartik, come on in. So starting at 8:10 and topics today, well, basically carrying on from last week. We're going to learn, we're going to start to actually develop a system, right? We'll learn to do a simple system. Oh, here's somebody else. Oh, chat, I have a chat comment coming in. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your good morning wishes. So
good morning, sir.
Good morning. Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you for being on time. It's great. I get the feeling I've got some very nice emails from some of our students. They said that they really found the class quite interesting. And guys, I get it because I used to be a student. In fact, I still take some courses, right? I'm taking courses right now. But anyway, I understand that some classes are just not that interesting. And especially something like system development. The college has nice PowerPoints, they do. But if I were to just teach you this from PowerPoints, my way of telling if the class is interesting, if I'm interested in it myself, then I know I can teach it well. If I think it's boring, I can't really teach it properly. So I try to make this something that you actually have skills in your hand you can take and go to a job interview and they'll hire you and give you a good paying job with them. Will you get a job as a Java programmer? Well, maybe not initially, maybe not the first job, but you might get a job working in an office where they have some new system, some CRM, customer relationship management system, and they need somebody to set it up and program some scripts, like what they call if this, then that, right? So if an email comes in, then it automatically, I don't know, triggers a response or something. And with what you're learning here, you could easily pick up the book, you could read through the manual, the instructions, and within a couple or 3 hours, you could be pretty good at managing that system. So when I say that these are actually job ready skills, I'm not saying a joke because I've been paying for my living and my family's living. We live in a nice house in a nice part of town and we have nice cars and our kids went to nice schools and my daughter Nikki is in Amherst University in the US getting her PhD in computer science. My daughter Ashley is getting her law. She wants to be a lawyer and a judge. And this is stuff I paid for using the skills that I'm teaching you now. So I'm excited for you guys to learn this stuff. All right, so we're going to get going in 5 minutes. So today's topics, we will actually start building a system, right? Start building an information system using all of the principles we've seen here, starting with UML, Unified Modeling Language, Agile Software Engineering. Now, the business system we're going to build, our business domain, because remember last week we said that the business domain is the rules of the business, and your job as a system developer is to write code and databases to do what's called enterprise application integration. So our business domain now is going to be the Monopoly game. And maybe I hope some of you have played Monopoly at some point. If you haven't, well, maybe over the next couple of weeks when we're doing this, you can just buy a Monopoly board game for like, I don't know, $15 or something and play it. But we're going to write a program so a human being can play Monopoly with the computer program as being their other player. And I still have to get my coffee. Like, I haven't done that since I got everything started up here. But I'm going to find a link, and I'm going to just ask you to, if you've not played Monopoly. Actually, I did find, where did I put that though? Well, there's not that there's any shortage of Monopoly links out there, but I found a nice game, but we'll go and find another one now. And my daughter, my younger daughter, Ashley, especially, she loves Monopoly. She came back to live at home for a while because her university went back to this lockdown. Everything's online. So the first thing when we picked her up from the airport, I said, "Do you want to sleep?" She said, "No, let's play Monopoly," because when she was a small child, that was always her favorite thing to do. Oh, it doesn't take 2 hours to learn Monopoly. It takes like 3 minutes. No, I don't know. This is probably as good as any. All right, guys. So in a couple of minutes, while we're getting set up here, just watch this video. Just if you haven't played it, I'm going to go over I'm going to start by going over the rules, which means in our little environment here of our company, because I said on day one that we're going to run this class as if we're a software development company and I'm the manager and you're my team members, and we are going to do projects and assignments in the class like real programming companies might actually do, for paying work. So we're going to start today's new project for our new client by learning the business domain, because the basic problem I've seen with programming is the instructors are really good at teaching you the mechanical procedures. How do you write a for loop and so on? But we don't seem to do as good a job of creating a context or a picture around that to say why that's something that would be a beneficial thing to do. So anyway, while I get my coffee, you guys can warm yourselves up here. Just watch that link. And then when we start formally in about 3 or 4 minutes, I'll show you Monopoly, and then we'll see, and then we will learn Java and SQL as we're learning to write a computer program to play Monopoly. So if you don't know about Monopoly, just spend a couple of minutes right there and look at it. I've got a couple more people coming into the waiting room. Okay. All right, I'm just going to start in 2 minutes because I haven't gotten my coffee yet, which is the most important thing. Jan 19. All right, so newcomers who just joined us, I will introduce today's activity in a minute. However, I want you guys to watch that YouTube video. That's your first little job of work in our class today. If you don't know how to play Monopoly, just get some orientation, then I will go over it, and we're going to play Monopoly in the class for the next couple of weeks. Yep, that's going to be your class here, playing Monopoly with the computer, using a program that you wrote. All right, a couple more people kicking in here. Just going to let them join in. Jaspreet, Harkamal. All right, so people who just joined us, I just have to go get my coffee. I was having some challenges this morning with the network and all that stuff, but we're all here. So anyway, we're going to play Monopoly today. And if you're not familiar with Monopoly, we found a nice video to give you an orientation. I'm going to bring our family's prize Monopoly set over here into the meeting and show you a little bit on how it works. And then we're going to play Monopoly. That's going to be your learning plan for the day. But I need coffee first, so I'll be right back. Hang on.
आ गई प्रिया।
आ गई मेरा लैपटॉप नहीं चलता ਪਿਆ ਸੀ।
ਅੱਛਾ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਰ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਲਿੰਕ ਭੇਜਿਆ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਵਾਲਾ ਉਹ ਹੁਣ ਪਲੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੇਖਣੀ ਆਪਾਂ।
ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੁਣਦੀ ਸੀ ਸਰ ਦੀ।
ਆ ਦੇਖ ਚੈਟ ਬਾਕਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੇਖ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲਿੰਕ ਭੇਜਿਆ, ਇੱਕ ਗੇਮ ਹੈ ਕੋਈ ਮੋਨੋਪੋਲੀ ਵਗੈਰਾ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ।
ਅੱਛਾ ਉਹ ਸਰ ਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਭੇਜੀ ਸੀ। ਹਾਂ ਸਰ ਨੇ
ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੇਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ 1-2 ਦਿਨ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ, ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਫੇਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲਿੰਕ ਆਹ ਵਾਲੀ ਚੈਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੈਂਡ ਕੀਤਾ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕਲਾਸ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ।
ਯਾਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਤਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ।
ਪ੍ਰਿਆ ਮਨਦੀਪ ਸਰ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ 1-2 ਮਿੰਟ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ ਮੋਨੋਪੋਲੀ ਵਾਲੀ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਨੂੰ।
ਯਾਰ ਜੇ ਫਿਰ ਕਿਤੇ ਆ ਲੈਫਟ ਨਾ ਹੋ ਜੇ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ।
ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਉਹ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ, ਮੈਂ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਪਈ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਵੀਡੀਓ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ।
ਅੱਛਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੈਟ ਦੇ ਥਰੂ ਹੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਓਪਨ?
ਹਾਂ ਚੈਟ ਦੇ ਥਰੂ।
ਹੈਲੋ ਯਾਰ ਦੱਸੋ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪਿਆ?
ਫਸਟ ਵਾਲੀ ਜੋ ਫਸਟ ਲਿੰਕ ਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਲੇ ਕਰ ਲਓ।
ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੋਨੋਪੋਲੀ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਚੈਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿੰਕ ਸ਼ੋ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ,
ਬਸ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਓਪਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ।
ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਚੈਟ
ਦੋਨੋਂ ਸੇਮ ਨੇ।
ਕੁਝ ਆਇਆ ਨਹੀਂ
ਯਾਰ ਆਇਆ ਹੋਊਗਾ, ਆ ਦੇਖੋ ਚੈਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 2 ਲਿੰਕ ਪਾਏ ਨੇ ਸਰ ਨੇ, ਨਾਲੇ एवरीवन ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ੋ ਕੀਤਾ।
ਹੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਇਆ ਸਰ ਨੇ ਹਾਲੇ।
YouTube ਤੇ ਪਾਇਆ, YouTube ਵਾਲਾ ਲਿੰਕ ਹੈ ਸੌਰੀ।
ਯਾਰ
ਜਿਹਦਾ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ ਓਪਨ, ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਮਿਨੀਮਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰ ਦੋ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਆਪਣੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਨੂੰ। ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਰ ਨੇ 1-2 ਦਿਨ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਲਿੰਕ ਭੇਜੇ ਨੇ ਨਾ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੇਮ ਦਾ ਲਿੰਕ ਹੈਗਾ ਹਨਾ, ਉਹ ਓਪਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ, ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਆ ਗੇਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ।
ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਲਿੰਕ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸ਼ੋ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜੀ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੋਊਗਾ?
ਹੈਗਾ
ਚੈੱਕ ਕਰ ਲਓ।
ਜੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਸ਼ੋ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਲ ਆਈਡੀ 'ਚ ਸਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਮ ਤੇ ਪੀਟਰ ਨਾਮ ਤੇ ਦੇਖੋ, ਮੇਲਸ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਆਈਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ, ਲਾਸਟ ਵਾਲੀ ਮੇਲ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ੋ ਹੋਇਆ ਸਰ ਨੇ 3-4 ਲਿੰਕ ਪਾਏ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਗੇਮ ਜੀ ਵਾਲਾ ਖੋਲ ਕੇ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ
ਬਸ ਹੁਣ ਦੁਬਾਰੇ ਫੇਰ ਦੇਖ ਲਾ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਕੁਝ ਤਾਂ ਆਈਡੀਆ ਆਊਗਾ।
All right guys, let's get started now. So welcome once again. I think probably everybody is here. I just clicked one more class member in, which is Sehapreet. So good morning. Now to begin with, this is Monopoly, but you probably can't see it. Oh, actually, I'm not sharing my cam. I'm going to use my OBS here. Hang on. We're going to spend maybe the first, I don't know, 3-4 minutes just seeing what Monopoly is. And then we're going to make a game plan, just like at work, right? When they give you a new software project to work on, initially you're not going to understand how to solve the problem. So the first thing has to be, well, actually, why don't we start capturing it in our PowerPoint, because this is part of our lesson now. And later on, when it comes to your assignments and your project, you're going to have to do this by yourself. So I'm sort of role playing, I'm role demonstrating for you what you're going to be responsible for doing later on. So let's do that. So procedure for designing a system, right? Our course here is systems analysis and design. So first of all, we're going to see how we actually make that happen. And pay good attention, because you will be doing this by yourself come project time. So we said last week that the major factor, or sort of the key thing we're going to be working with here, is called the business domain. So whenever you're analyzing or designing a system, in the first phases of the project, most of your work is going to be to understand the business domain. So job one, right, to us as system analysts and designers, is making sure we understand the business domain. And there's several ways of doing that, such as we've seen. Hang on here, just want to make sure your slides look nice so you can read them easily later on. So understand, learn the details of, the operating details of, oops, oh, there we go. Man Kiran and Sehapreet, come on in. So understand, learn the operating, the working details of the business domain. And there's several ways to do that. We've talked last week about unified process, and we can make use cases. So that's definitely one thing we could do. And in future activities, I'll get more into that. But especially for beginners, right? If you've not really had too much time working with computers so far in your life, you know, like as a programmer type of thing, not necessarily, maybe you've done, I don't know, programming for some other class or something, but you haven't really worked in business analysis. If I were to go too heavy duty up front on things like UML and well, we will be using UML, but if I were to go too heavy up front on use cases, you'd say, yeah, Peter, this is confusing. I don't really understand it. So therefore, we're going to use another way. So there's a couple of ways we could do this job of learning the details of our business domain. Oops, got a couple more people to click in here. Gonna wait for their audio to hook up. Right, so we could do the standard unified process work of making, well, let me put it this way. So unified process officially, unified, I'm having trouble spelling this morning. Process says, gather user stories, and then do lexical analysis. We talked about this last week, and I asked you to watch some of my videos. Look for nouns and verbs, thing words and action words. And then from there, you make use cases. So you look for actors with goals and sets of work steps. And then once you have your use cases, you once again do lexical analysis on that. It's going to start summarizing it as LA. And then from there, you get to what? What's the next step after use cases? UML, your unified modeling language diagram. And then from there, your next step would be to generate code. So once I have a good UML diagram, and this is an international standard, we call it a lingua franca, means international language. So I could write, if I did a properly structured UML diagram, I could hire a programmer off elance.com or something. Maybe she lives in New Zealand or Brazil or someplace. But if they've been properly trained, and I would probably look for somebody who's written the OMG Object Management Group UML certification exam, and I will be teaching you, I'll be organizing our topics here in this course around an internationally recognized standardization, a certificate called the UML certification. And after this course, you're going to have everything you need. Well, maybe not everything. You might need to go and study a couple more topics, but you'll have definitely about 70% of what you need to get the OMG object. I had that exam many years ago. I got it in 2004 or 5 or something. I haven't kept up with it because I already know all this stuff. I teach it. But for you guys as students and as new graduates who don't have a lot of perhaps commercial experience to show to the employer, I think certification exams are great. I think they're the way to go. So there's a place now, an organization called the Object Management Group. And they, among other things, they sponsor a certification, which is the UML certification. I think they're up to version 3.2 or something on the specification. I'm not sure, but they have a certification on that. And it's about $120 to write the exam. In terms of learning the material, just hang around with me in the class and I'll teach it to you. And I have a strong encouragement for you guys to get that. I've seen students just like you challenging the exam and getting it, and then they report it back to me later. It really opened a lot of doors in terms of job prospects. So I'm going to kick out a link to that so you'll believe me when I say this is a real thing in the world. It's not just something I made up by myself. Object Management Group UML certification. Ah, there we go. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this in class, unless I get questions, right? I'll always answer specific questions. However, what I'm going to be teaching you, I'm going to be organizing, and a lot of your materials comes out of these study materials for here as well, right? I bought the study materials because I wanted to have that material to show you and to share with you. So therefore, if you do decide to write this exam, I think it's great. I think you should do it. And if you need any more help, I can give you more targeted advice on things to do to prepare. So now here is going to be our class activity for the next 4 classes at least. I think 4 classes from now, we will all have a pretty nice Monopoly game, and then you can put it up on a portfolio website, right? Or you can even go to something like Wix or one of these services that lets you make a nice website for free. You can create a little portfolio of your work and your accomplishments and include the URL to that in your resume, your LinkedIn for employers to see. Because if I was an employer looking to hire a new graduate, I would be extremely interested to talk to somebody who was able to produce the kind of work which we're going to be doing over the next month here. Right? So why is my computer hanging like that? Something, oh yeah, maybe I need to reinstall the operating system or something. Oh, well, let's go on. Is there something I can turn off? Like my computer should not be this sluggish. Hmm, 90% running. Running doing what? Well, I can't turn off the Zoom meeting. Oh, I can turn off Copernic search. I don't need that right now. Oh, I have a chat comment coming in. Sir, attendance has been done. I was having trouble joining the class. Mankiran, I am going to be issuing a snap quiz unannounced sometime during our class, maybe in the middle, maybe towards the end, maybe after the break, but I will look at the attendance. I will look at whoever wrote my quiz and that'll be your attendance. It has not been done yet. No, we'll be getting to it within a little while. All right, so now I just want to see if there's anything else I can turn off here to speed up my computer. Well, I guess not. Discord, I don't need Discord right now. In my microservices class, we're actually making our own Discord server. We're making something that works like Discord. And mine doesn't take this much CPU, believe me. I don't know what they did to make it such a resource hog. Sorry, guys, I'm just waiting for this little spinny ball to come back so I can close something up here. Discord. Okay, I don't need that. Need these. Oh shit, I shouldn't have closed Dropbox. Well, I can restart it later. All right, I'm down to only 70% of CPU, so I guess that's a bit better now. So once again, a couple of people just joined us in here, so pay attention. We are going to play Monopoly. That's going to be our class plan for the next several classes. We're going to play Monopoly. Yeah, I like Monopoly. It's fun. So to play Monopoly, first we have to understand the workings of the business domain. And the traditional way of doing that, which I presented last week, is called unified process. And hopefully you watched my video, you heard about user stories, and eventually getting to a unified modeling language diagram, which from here, we can then write Java code. And by the way, in a couple of weeks when we have our first quiz and everybody starts asking me what questions are going to be on the quiz, my answer is going to be, where have you been? Because I was talking about it like since the first hour of the first class. So here, any of this stuff could be on your quiz, right? So from unified modeling language, we're going to write our Java classes. And I understand that you guys have not had Java yet. Maybe a couple of you have, but I think most, as part of your program here, you have not had Java, and I don't think you've had relational databases. However, that's kind of a good thing because you're going to learn Java programming and relational databases to the very best possible level there is. Now, somebody was asking about attendance, so I'm going to give attendance sometimes on the basis of answering questions in the chat box during the class. So your first attendance question here, we'll see who answers it first. Why is it that you will learn Java and database in the best possible way? So whoever wants an attendance mark, just jump in there and answer that. Nobody's here. See, when I post questions and nobody answers them, I'm thinking you guys went back to bed. Nobody is here. Nobody knows why you're going to learn Java and database to the best possible way. Really?
So we can learn Java and database by by watching your YouTube videos. I have also seen it earlier also, but frankly speaking, I didn't get anything much. But after joining your class, we can get to learn it.
Yes, that's very good. Thank you for that. So I've noted that you're here, but
Yes,
my
sir.
question is, why are you going to learn it in the best possible way? Like, what about your learning will be the best learning? Seriously, you guys don't know how things work in the world? I'm going to give you an example, and this is because it also says in the course outline that I'm supposed to teach you how to manage yourself at work. So the joke goes, or the story goes, and you guys maybe, I don't know how much you know your history, but many years ago, there was this regime in Russia called the Soviet Union, which was very authoritarian, right? There was a dictatorship. So the story goes that one day this man went to a job interview in the Kremlin, and the interviewer said, "Comrade, we have to hire the right person for this job, somebody who's very intelligent and they understand things." So the interviewer said, "Comrade, how much is 2 + 2?" Now, if you were in that job interview and you were asked how much is 2 + 2, what would be your answer? Harry or Jaswinder or Mankiran or anybody else? How much is 2 + 2?
4.
If you, sorry, what?
4.
No, the
4.
actual correct answer, well, there's the old saying about being book smart and being street smart. So the man's answer in the interview is, he said, "Comrade, it is whatever you want it to be." That was his answer. And the interviewer said, "Oh, comrade, you're our guy. You understand how the world works. So your office is down there. Your job starts right now. So let's go and get to work." So when you're at work, you just sort of say the right political things, right? So now my question to you, which you said things like watching my videos, attending lectures, and so on. Yeah, all of that is right, but I'm kind of disappointed because in previous classes, somebody would always get the right answer. But here, nobody here got the right answer. So the question is, why will you learn, not how, but why will your Java and database learning be the best? And in many other classes, their answer was, Peter, because you're teaching, because you're our teacher, and if you teach it, it'll be the best. So anyway, well, I'll work on you. You didn't know that, but we're early in course. Maybe you'll figure it out later on. All right, so let's carry on now. Oh, actually, sometimes it just happens that I send a message to one particular student. I don't know why the chat box does that, but I'll just, when you're at work, it's not bad to sort of make yourself sweet to the manager. It's how things go, right? So in every job I was in, on the first day, I would always meet with my manager and I would say, "Boss, I'm here to support you, right? So you tell me what makes you look good to your manager above you, and I will make that happen." And then when people see that you're taking care of them, then human reciprocity, right? They're going to do little things to take care of you. So that's the kind of good way to get ahead at work. I renamed, Harminder, not a problem. Okay, very good. So, but Priyanka, isn't it really because I'm your teacher? That's really the reason why your learning will be better than anybody else's learning. All right, let's carry on now. And so now, and again, this is a little bit of review because some people joining us a couple of minutes late. So we're going to do a systems analysis and development by making a Monopoly game, right? That's one of our theme projects. We'll do a couple of other theme projects later, but this is a good starting point. Monopoly game. So job one is to understand the business domain. And this thing here on the left, that's kind of the official formal way to do it. But in the real world, we often don't really do that. We do it another way, which is by constructing mechanical models. And that's the way I like, because my training, I was not a programmer trained in university. I was trained as an electrical engineer. And this was back in the early 1980s when computers were pretty new. Nobody really knew that much about what's going on with them, at least compared to now. So my training in programming was writing software to control systems, right? In fact, my thesis, my fourth year thesis project, my capstone thesis project was I actually designed an electronic instrumentation system that could take analog, that is continuous signal outputs from assembly lines, and it could display them on a screen, and then the operator could change parameters in that system programmatically. So anyway, I did that. The reason why I was attracted to going into that, because I like building mechanical models of things. So the way we're actually going to be doing it here is we will be taking a real actual Monopoly game. That's our family's prize special Monopoly game I'm showing you. And we're going to be learning how it works by having a mechanical model. And that is such a powerful way to learn. Like, I can't emphasize enough that in the real world, in the real life, when you're dealing with the real situations of life, look for ways to build mechanical models. Even if it's something like you're going to buy a house, I tell people, because I also do real estate, before you put in the offer for that house, on 7 a.m. on Monday morning, drive to that house you want to buy, and then imagine, you own it. So from that house, drive to work. And then after work, drive back to that house before you go back to wherever you're living now. So feel the experience of what's it like to, what's the feeling going to be like? What's the experience of driving around there going to be like? So look for ways to make mechanical models. And later on in the later classes, when I teach you some stuff with Raspberry Pi and we do some external sense, we write some Java code in our Raspberry Pi circuit board, and I'll send you a parts list if you want to buy it and follow along with me, or you can just observe me doing it up here. But we're going to actually look for ways to, and see, here's another thing. Here's from my class this afternoon, which is software testing. So I'm teaching them, see, I made this little cutout cards. I'm going to cut these out with scissors, and these are all the quality attributes of software. And then we move these cards around, these cutout cards, and in that way they learn to think in terms of which quality metrics belong to which aspects of software testing. So the way we're going to do it here, work with mechanical models. Whoops, here's Pratik. Let's get them in. All right, so I'm going to get my cam set up here. And I have a chat comment coming in. Ah, very good, Paul. Yes, thank you so much. So I see your chat comments. Great. All right. So let's turn on OBS. All right, guys, so here's what you're going to be writing here's what we're going to analyze and then write some code to automate. Here's our business domain. It is called Monopoly, and if you've never played it, you can go and watch some videos on YouTube as well. So the concept of Monopoly, it's a board game, so we're going to write a database schema, write some database tables, as well as some Java code. And so here's the board. So we need to make a Java class now to model this board, right? So the first job here is we need to model in software. Where's my light pointer? Oh. So this is specifically for Toronto. They have them, the original one was from Atlantic City in the United States, but now they have other ones as well. So here you see each of these squares, as you can see, is a piece of real estate. So these are well-known cities in Toronto, like Queen Street, Toronto Islands, Allen Gardens, and High Park, and so on. And then the way this game works is, I wish I had a bigger table. Well, maybe I'll do something about that later. So the way it works is you have players, and each player puts a symbol to represent them on the board. Right, so I usually choose the dog when we play. Right, so I put my dog symbol here on the go square. And then all the other players, you know, where they put their symbols there too. And then you roll the dice. So each player rolls the dice. And then whoever gets the highest roll, they're the first one to go. Oh, I have a chat comment coming in. Oh, good, good. Shubham, so if anybody needs advice on the rules of the game, Shubham is going to be one of our subject matter experts here. That's great. So, and then let's say that I was the highest guy now. So I roll again and it says 5. So I take my dog. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I'm on a property called Queen Street. And I can buy it for $250. So we have these property cards over here. And you appoint one person to be the banker. And then the banker is going to find the card for Queen Street. Right? I'm not going to take too much time now, but imagine each of these properties as a card. And then the card says the rent. So if I buy this property, and then if somebody lands on it, so the next player is coming along now, they roll their dice and they get there, they have to pay $14 of rent to me. But there's other things going on here as well. So you see some of the other rules of our business domain are, if you have a city block, right? So some of these squares you see are color coded. So Queen Street works with some of those other squares over there. And you can tell by the color coding. So it works with King Street, which is over there. Whoops, I'm just getting my light pointer up and going here. So there's King Street. And Bloor Street. See, those are all famous streets in Toronto, if you know Toronto, and Yonge Street. So if I manage to buy all 4 of those squares, I now have an entire city block. And if you have a city block, then you can charge more rent and so on. So that's the way it goes. And there's other rules as well. So for example, if I land on something called contingency, then I have these contingency cards and I have to take a card off the top of the deck. And it says it's 4:05 p.m. You've been towed. Pay $50 to the center of the board, right? Or what's that, $30. So sometimes the player will land on this contingency square and it will give them instructions, which they might receive money, or it might say pay $50 to each player or something. So this is Monopoly. So start right now to think what, and you guys especially, like Shabam and some of you other ones who have already played Monopoly, I want you to take 3 minutes right now. And even if you've never played Monopoly, because I've asked you to have a paper and a pen handy during the class, I want you to just think by yourself, what are all the things we need to model in software to play Monopoly? I will tell you my list. And by the way, your list is not going to be complete. Oh, here's some other things you can do. I forgot. Once you own all the properties in a certain block, like if I also own Young Street and Bloor Street and King Street, I can now start putting up houses. See? So you have these little symbols here. I can put house, and I can put up to 4 houses. And once I get 4 houses, then I can tear them down. And they really do that, right? If you're living in a busy city, you see that happening. In Toronto, it happens all the time. They rip down old houses and they put up condo apartment buildings. And then if somebody, just going to find a property card for a street, well, like Castle Alma, for example, or downtown Toronto. Where's the one for Young Street? Cabbagetown, Harbor Center, Nathan Phillips Square. Oh, Young Street, for example. So here is Young Street. So if I buy Young Street, which has a cost of $250. Actually, can I plug in the light on that? Hang on, let me see if I just get the light going for my cam. Oh, there we go. So if, oh, here's somebody wants to come in. Here's Harjeet Singh. Let's get them in. Yeah. So what we were saying now, that if I have 4 houses and then I have to pay for those buildings, right? So how much they cost is also determined by the rules of the game. And you have to have enough cash. So here, well, there's something else in the rules. We're going to go and find it later. But the basic thing is I have to pay a certain amount of money to put up that building. Now, each player at the beginning, they get a certain amount of money. I forget what it is because Ashley is usually the banker. I think they get like $1,000 or something. And then as you pass go, you get like $200 every time you pass go. And if you want to buy a property, you have to give your money to the bank. You buy it from the bank. But if another player lands on your property, they have to pay rent to you according to how many houses or buildings you have on the property. And then sometimes you're going to get a contingency card, which is going to, you might get money. It might say receive $50 or pay money or something. And the game goes until there's only one player left, because the word monopoly actually means, you know, one person who controls everything. So the purpose of the game is to be the last player who's there. So you want to have so many properties, right? You want to have so many high-rise buildings on all your property that if somebody lands there, that's it, right? Maybe they have to pay like, you know, $2,000 rent, but they only have $300 left. So what happens then? Well, they're out of the game. So then the
Sir,
person,
how much money we get in the beginning of the game?
we can check the rules. I think it's $1,000. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter that much. That's a parameter you can set in your program. In fact, one of the things that we do with software, you can just go to monopoly.com. All the rules are there. Because usually when we play, my daughter Ashley is the banker. I just play and I roll and stuff. I don't think too much on the details. But here's another thing we do with systems, which is we could do simulations. So you can actually do you can adjust in your software things like how much money do I give to each player up front to make the game last longer or go shorter. Because the basic thing with Monopoly, it can go for days, right? Because people can keep, you know, if you're careful and so anyway, I'm going to give you a little 5-minute exercise right now, and I want you to think, what are all the things, what are all the concepts, right? Like do a unified process analysis right now. What are all the concepts in our business domain, right? So we have property cards, and we have contingency cards, and we have dice, and we have properties, and we have players. Where's my players? If I lose any of these things, I'm finished. Ashley will really be mad at me. Oh yeah, all my players are here. So we have players, and if you want to have, they think they give you 4 symbols in this game. I mean, if you want more, you can just get like a little, I don't know, like a little keychain or something and say that's going to be my symbol, my player. But I want you guys to take 3 minutes right now and figure out, do your analysis, right? Do your unified process analysis here in our course on analyzing and building systems.
वो कोई क्वेश्चन कह रहा है कानून फुद्दू काम है यार
And
exercise.
write down all the concepts, right? All the elements of our business domain we need to model in software and in database tables. And I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do that. And then I'm going to start asking for people to provide their suggestions. And then we're going to actually start writing Java code. And I'm going to teach you Java as we go along, right? So you will learn Java within the context of doing this. So this is your first activity. This is your first exercise. So everybody, please go and do that right now. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do that right now. Meanwhile, I'm going to put this stuff away because I'm afraid I might knock it over on the floor or something. But I can put a screenshot of it in your PowerPoint, I guess. Okay, let me go and check my chat comment first. Sir, can we play this game on mobile? You have no laptop. Priyanka, when you signed up for this course, didn't you sign a paper promising that you had a laptop and an internet connection? Like, how are you going to write your tests without a laptop? Well, I mean, it's up to you, but you're not really going to learn anything. The point isn't to play the game. The point is to write Java code. So if you don't have a laptop, that's going to be a problem. Well, figure it out yourself. I mean, strictly speaking, you did sort of promise that you would have a laptop and an internet connection when you took your courses here, right? So see if you can find somebody's laptop to borrow. That would be the only suggestion I can make. Because Priyanka, remember, we're not playing the game. We're writing the code to make the game work. That's our game. That's our outcome here. So if you guys want to have this handy on your own screen or something, if it makes it easier to see it, I will share out a link to this image as well. But remember, everything counts to marks, right? Everything counts to participation. So this is just a paper exercise. Think about all the things you need to write a Java program. And if you don't know how to write Java, it doesn't matter at this point. Just contemplate what all of the elements are, all of the information elements we need to write an information system to play a Monopoly game. And then we'll compare, and then we'll see who came up with different ideas. I'll be quiet for a couple of minutes to let you work on this. I'm going to put the Monopoly game away now, but if you want to have this image handy in front of your, in your screen or something to get some ideas, that's great. You can also work with teams if you want, because when you do the
Excuse me,
project,
sir.
talk. Yep,
Excuse me, sir.
I'm listening.
Sir, we have to write the points of domain for the points needed for the domain points for the Java.
You can just write it in a notepad, for example. You can just like open a little like text editor, like a little text file or something. So you can just go here to say notepad. So just open notepad on your computer and then just say, well, dice, players, board, anything.
Sir, actually, we are not getting that what kind of domain points we have to write.
Okay, thank you for letting me know, because if we're not in the class together, I don't really know what it is you don't know. So it's great that you're telling me. So basically, here's our outcome. Here's what we want to do. Here's what you need to do actually for your activity, because I'll get you to hand this in as an assignment at the end. So you must write a Java program and a database to model, because here in system analysis and design, we write code to model business systems, right? So you're going to model the Monopoly game. So what are all of the elements? What are all of the things that you need to play Monopoly? Sorry, who's the student? I'm sorry, I missed your name. Who am I speaking to? Who asked the question?
Sir, Mankiran.
Mankiran. All right, Mankiran, if you're like many ladies in the world, I mean, I don't mean to generalize, but it's a fact that many ladies of your age, they do think about getting married, and they're continually sort of planning what the wedding is going to be like. So if you were to plan your wedding, and I don't know if you will, I mean, I don't know what you want, or I'm just saying, I'm making one example that may be sort of accessible. So if you were to go about planning a wedding, what would be all the stuff you would need to make a wedding happen? Well, you'd probably need some guy to marry first. So you'd need like somebody to marry. So like a groom, we call it in English. So you have to go out and find some guy to say yes to you. And then you might need a hall, like a banquet hall or something. You might need food. You might need a menu plan. You might need a chef or something to cook the food.
And
Menu
also
plan.
find decoration system.
Exactly. So now we're on board together. So decorations.
As well as catering system.
Exactly, catering. So gentlemen in the room, again, I don't know what your plans are, but it seems Mankiran has been thinking about this a lot. In my opinion, she's a pretty nice young lady. So if you're looking to get your life started, well, I'll leave that to you. You guys can talk to each other in the chat comment. But exactly, so now you're getting it. So you're making a list of all the stuff you need to make this event happen, right? So you're listing all the stuff you need to make this event happen. So decorations, I don't know, plates, napkins, serviettes, flatware, all that stuff, right? Special kinds of foods you like and so on. Maybe you have certain religious or cultural requirements. You need a religious person, a religious man or something who can perform the ceremony and so on. So what you want to do right now in this case for our little class exercise is, my wife is laughing at you, by the way. She's in the kitchen. I can hear her chuckling. I think my example about Mankiran made her laugh.
No, sir, your this example is very, very good. I got it that what elements for the domain you are saying. Now I got it.
Right. So now we're doing planning for our Monopoly program. Monopoly program. So all of the stuff, right? So I mean, some stuff I can think, oh, I'm going to give you this link as well. I'm going to give you this, I'm just going to give you a link to that little image we made here on the screen, if you want to see that. Now, so because I don't want to give you too many
Sir, your voice is not audible. We can't hear you, sir.
Yes, sir. We can't hear you.
Audio level test. Can you hear me now? Testing. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
sir, your voice is audible now.
Yeah. So
we
what
can hear
happened
you.
was, because this control, I actually wish if this wasn't here, this makes so many problems. If I accidentally touch the wrong button, it mutes my mic, because this was under the board. And I guess when I pushed on the board, but anyway, so let's just resume the last couple of minutes. Thank you so much for letting me know about the mic, by the way. So what's happening now is we need to make, I mean, you need to make this list, and you need to plan. So you need to list for your software systems analysis. So now you're analyzing the business domain. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, we made a mechanical model for it. So that was a good first step, right? So we actually had this. This is our model. This is your business domain. This is what you have to write code for, right? So we made a mechanical model of our business domain. And then the next thing we do is we figure out, I'm just going to go to my chat comments. Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly. So Shubham is already getting a little bit higher level than I'm thinking about. He's already thinking about how to analyze the kinds of patterns and trends that might have. Yeah, so great. That'll actually be phase 2, but it's excellent you're thinking on that. That's great. So now we list, right? We describe, or we write down all the things that exist in the business domain. So that's what this is your job right now. That's what so you do this now for 5 minutes. If you want to hook up with team members or something, so you do the project, you can work in a team if you want, or by yourself, but you do this, or you can even talk to each other over this meeting thing now. But I've given you a couple of points, right? So I need to have a player, because if I don't have a player, I don't really have anything else to do. And I need to have properties, because players land on property. How does player, oops, I dropped my dice. Where did the dice go? Oh shoot, where are my dice? Yeah, so now my player rolls the dice. Now, how are we going to get a computer program to roll dice? Well, we're going to make a Java class called dice, and we're going to give it a method called roll, and we're going to use a random number generator. So we can do that, right? I know how to do that. I'll show you how to do it. So what else? So just look right now and work with me and write down on your paper. Here's some things I can think about that we need. We need properties. And now we have property cards as well. Well, I think a property can be represented by a property card. So I think if we just have a property card, we're pretty good. But we also need a board, right? We need a board. Sorry, question?
Also need money for that game.
Oh, yeah. See, guys, ladies always think about money, by the way. So believe me, I generally, when I play this game, I'm going to tell you the girls are always way out there, way in front of the guys. They get this going faster. So you need a player object, and you need maybe maybe a data field for their amount of money, and you're going to need a bank object. But anyway, I'm going to stop talking because I don't want to give you all the ideas, because that takes away a lot of the value of this learning activity. In fact, it's already 9:10. We've been going for about an hour. So I'm going to give you a break plus lab time. We're going to resume at 9:30, but I want you to come back with some good ideas. We need programmer to build our idea by software. Well, actually, Shubham, that's you. That's every one of you. You're the programmer. All right. So anyway, let's do this now. It's 9:10. Let's take a break till 9:30. And I will just spend 5 minutes to get coffee. So spend 5 minutes for break. And I want you to spend lab time. So make 15 minutes by yourself, or you can hook up with a couple of your friends over there in the class. So do a lab time. And I want you to produce, I want you to show to me when we come back. You're going to show me after the 9:30 your list of business domain elements. So I'm going to be quiet. I'm actually going to go and heat up my own coffee again. But we're going to resume now at 9:30. And then I want you to show me your list. I want you to tell me all of the things you can think about, which we need to know. Now, you don't have to know about Java. You don't have to know about database. All you have to do is think about this right there, right? That's your, write down everything you can think about, right? All the contingency cards, all of the properties. I'm going to be quiet, because if I talk too much, then you're not going to think. And I need this, the purpose of this exercise is for you to think about this by yourself. Why? Because when we write the Java program, you're going to write your Java program based on your own business analysis domain. And if I give it to you, then it won't be as fun. It won't be as satisfying as if you make it by yourself. So I'm going to go away for 15 minutes and let you work in peace. And then we're going to come back and we're going to start writing some Java code to implement this. So go do that now.
मैं तो लिखते सारे जो जो पता सी पढ़े
ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਦੱਸ ਦੋ ਫਿਰ ਕੱਲੇ ਕੱਲੇ ਲਿਖਣੇ ਨੇ
बिल्कुल सबको दादा होने नहीं दास मैं पाता ग्रुप और जो अच्छा एवरीवन नहीं मेरी चैट से सर ਨੂੰ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ 8 6-7 ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਲਿਖ ਕੇ ਭੇਜ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸਰ
ਇਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਹੋ
ਹਾਂ
ਨਹੀਂ
ਯਾਰ
ਨਾ
ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਸਬਜੈਕਟ ਚ ਪੜਿਆ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੀ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ
ਕੰਪਿਊਟਰ ਵਾਲੇ
ਟਾਈਮ ਚ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਯਾਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕੁਝ
ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ? ਕੀ ਆ?
ਤੇ ਜਾਣ ਹੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਉਹਦਾ ਕੱਲ।
ਅੱਛਾ
ਉਹਦੀ ਹੀਰੇ ਹੋਣੀ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਪਰ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ?
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਾ ਪਤਾ।
ਮੱਖਣ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ?
ਮਲੇਸ਼ੀਆ
ਮਲੇਸ਼ੀਆ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ
ਅਮਰੀਕਾ
ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾਣਾ।
ਹਾਂ ਉਹ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ।
ਅੱਛਾ
ਨਹੀਂ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ?
ਨਹੀਂ ਮਲੇਸ਼ੀਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਤਾ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਕੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੇਤਨ
ਸਪੇਨ?
ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ।
ਹਾਂ
ਕੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਪ੍ਰਤੀਕ?
ਤੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਪਾਲੇ ਤੇ ਫੋਨ ਆ ਜਾਣਾ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਉਹ ਦੱਸਿਆ
ਹੈਲੋ
ਸੀ।
ਸ਼ੁਭਮ,
ਬਣਾਉਂਦਾ ਆ ਮੱਖਣ।
ਗੱਲ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਵਧੀਆ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ।
ਸ਼ੁਭਮ
ਹਮ
ਉਹ ਵਾਲੇ ਦੱਸਣੇ ਨਾ ਐਲੀਮੈਂਟਸ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਵੇਰੀਏਬਲਸ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਡਿਫਾਲਟ ਵੈਲਿਊਜ਼ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਇਹ ਵਾਲੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਨਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ?
ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਨੇ
ਹਾਂ
ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਡਿਵੈਲਪ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਥੋੜੀ ਕਿਹਾ, ਉਹਨੇ ਆ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਾਵਾ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਬਾਕੀ ਕੀ ਪਤਾ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ। ਉਹਨੇ ਆ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਮਤਲਬ ਜੇ ਕੁਝ ਆਪਣਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਡੋਮੇਨ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਕੀ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਨਵੈਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਆਪਣਾ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਆਈਡੀਆ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ।
ਅੱਛਾ ਉਹ ਵਾਲੇ ਦੱਸਣੇ ਆ, ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਨਾ, ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ
ਨਾ
ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਲਿਖਦੇ
ਉਹ
ਆ
ਤਾਂ
ਕੋਡਿੰਗ
ਜਿਹੜੀ
ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸਣੀ।
ਕਰੈਕਟਰ ਵੇਰੀਏਬਲ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਅਲੱਗ ਹੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਆ ਤਾਂ।
ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਉਦੋਂ
ਆ
ਯੂਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੇ
ਤਾਂ
ਨੇ, ਵੇਰੀਏਬਲਸ ਹੋ ਗਏ, ਇਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ
ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮਿੰਗ ਕਰਨੀ
ਕੋਡਿੰਗ।
ਆ ਤਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ
ਹਾਂ
ਨੇ।
ਹਾਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਸਰ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਮਨਕਿਰਨ ਲਈ ਲਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਪਲੈਨਿੰਗ, ਲਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਪਲੈਨਿੰਗ ਦਾ, ਸੀਗਾ ਵੈਡਿੰਗ ਪਲੈਨਰ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਲਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ।
ਐਵੇਂ
ਉਹ
ਜਿਹਾ ਕੀ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ
ਹਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ
ਹੋਊਗਾ।
ਲਈ ਇਹ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਕੋਡਿੰਗ ਯੂਜ਼ ਹੋਊਗੀ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ, ਬਟ ਫਿਰ ਇਹਦੇ ਚ ਜਸਟ ਸਿੰਪਲ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਵੀ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਡੋਮੇਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਇਨਵੈਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਹਨਾ।
ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਦੋ ਚਾਰ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ, ਮਤਲਬ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਇਸਟੈਬਲਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨਾ, ਉਹੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਬਸ ਉਹ ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਈਟੀ ਨਾਲ ਲਿੰਕ ਕਰ ਦਿਓ।
ਠੀਕ।
ਮੈਂ ਯਾਰ ਚਾਹ ਚੂ ਪਿਆ ਯਾਰ ਨੀਂਦ ਚ।
ਉਹ ਮੰਮੀ ਰਹਿਣ ਦੋ, ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਲੱਗੇ
ਥੱਲੇ
ਬਸ।
ਹੈਂ?
ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਵੀ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਹੀ ਮਨਾ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦਾ।
ਉਹਨੇ ਹੁਣੇ ਆਇਆ, ਜੋ ਆਇਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਕਰੇ ਦੇਣਾ ਸੀ। ਉਹਦਾ
ਕਹਿੰਦਾ
ਕਿਆ
10 ਮਿੰਟ ਤੇ ਫੇਰ ਵੀ ਪੁੱਛ ਕੇ ਹੀ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਫੇਰ ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਹਜੇ ਵੀ।
ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਡੋਮੇਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹ ਦੱਸੋ 5 ਮਿੰਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਡੋਮੇਨ
ਅੱਜ ਮੈਂ ਰੋਟੀ ਪਕਾ ਲਵਾਂ।
ਐਲੀਮੈਂਟਸ ਇਹ ਸਮਝ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਕਿ
ਕੈਨ ਪਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਭਰ ਫੇ
ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਪਾ ਲਵਾਂ
ਪਤਾ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਬਣੀ
72 ਘੰਟੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਣੀ ਬਸ।
ਠੀਕ ਨੰਬਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਦੇਣਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਘਾਟੀ ਦਾ ਦੇ ਦੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ। ਹਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਗੱਡੀ
72 ਘੰਟੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਬਣਨੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ 72 ਘੰਟੇ
ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ
ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਦਿਨ ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ ਭਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ।
ਰੋਟੀ ਪਕਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ।
ਨਹੀਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਭਾਰ ਦਿਆ ਕਰੀਏ ਜੀ। ਇੱਕ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਰਲ ਪਾਉਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ
ਕਿ ਭਾਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ
ਭਾਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ
ਉਹ ਚ ਉਹ ਹੱਲੇ ਵੀ ਭਾਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਚ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੈ
ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਭਾਰ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਨਾ 3-4 ਕਿਲੋ ਦਾ।
ਫਿਰ ਕੱਢ ਦੋ
ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਭੇਜ ਦਊਂਗੀ।
ਆਹੋ ਉਹ ਚ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਲਰ ਕੱਢ ਦੋ ਸਟ੍ਰੇਟਨਰ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ
ਸਟ੍ਰੇਟਨਰ ਕਰਲ ਵਾਲਾ ਉਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ।
ਹਾਂ ਕਲਰ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਗੋਲ ਜਿਹਾ ਆ
ਹਾਂ ਉਹ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ
ਉਹ ਕੱਢ ਦੇ ਮਾਤਾ।
ਉਹ ਇੱਧਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਇਆ ਉਹ ਦੂਏ ਚ ਟੈਚੀ ਚ ਪਾਇਆ ਸੀ।
ਅੱਛਾ
ਆ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਲਿਖ ਦਵਾਂ ਮਾਡਲ ਆਫ ਮੋਨੋਪੋਲੀ
ਨੈਟ ਤੇ ਦੇਖ ਲਾ
ਯਾਰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਸਮਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦੀ। ਆਹ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਆ ਸਹੀ ਲਿਖੇ ਹੋਏ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ
ਮਨਕਿਰਨ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੱਸਣੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹ ਮੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਗੇਮ ਵਾਲੇ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਗੇਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਰਿਲੇਟਡ ਦੱਸਣੇ ਆ ਡੋਮੇਨ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਲਿਸਟ ਬਣਾਉਣੀ ਹੈ ਐਲੀਮੈਂਟਸ ਦੀ।
मनदीप डोमेन के लिए क्या क्या एलिमेंट्स चाहिए मुझे क्या पता क्या चाहिए
हाँ जी
मेरी गल सुनी मैंने लगता एम्प्लॉयर्स इन्वेस्टमेंट भी आ सकता ना क्योंकि
वो इसलिए पूछ रहे हैं बिकॉज़ उन्होंने प्रमोशन का आंसर पहले दिया होगा
बहुत आ रही है यार की कह रही हो
मैं क्या ना
एग्जांपल दिया कि उसके लिए कार्ड्स वगैरह ये
बोल बोल तू चल बोल
आप बताओ बिजनेस डोमेन
देखो सर ने जिवें क्या बिजनेस डोमेन करना फिर उनदे च इन्वेस्टमेंट है ना एम्प्लॉयर्स पैकेज ये सब कुछ भी आऊगा लाइक रिलेशनशिप एम्प्लॉयर्स के नाम कितने एलिमेंट्स लिखे हैं
मैं तो यार हले सच्ची दसा ना मैनू तो कुछ समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है
ਲਾਈਕ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਚਲਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਐਲੀਮੈਂਟਸ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੋ ਹੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਆ EMPLOYERS ਵੀ ਤਾਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਹੀ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਅੰਡਰ
आई थिंक फाइनेंशियल आ जाऊगा लाइफस्टाइल आ
नहीं
जाऊगा
लग रही बंदा क्या खाए
सर्च वगैरह कुछ आ जाऊगा सोशल नेटवर्क्स आ जाऊगा ये लिख दो बस यार
ਹਾਂ ਮੈਂ EMPLOYERS ਤੇ ਇਨਵੈਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਲਿਖਿਆ
ਇਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕੀਤਾ
ਕੋਈ ਡਾਲਦੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਪੁੱਛ ਰਹੀ
ਫਿਰ ਸਰ ਨੂੰ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਨਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਮੈਂਟ
मुझे चाय चाय लगती नहीं है गोलमी पत्ती अच्छा मैं गोलमी पत्ती डाल के दिक्कत ही करती हूँ ना तो यहाँ पे कोई कुछ बताता हमारे यहाँ पे कोई जब क्लासमेट्स दिखाई देते हैं, बताते भी नहीं।
ग्रुप नहीं बना हुआ क्लास का?
बना हुआ है, पता नहीं बेचारा किसी को पता ही नहीं है।
नहीं पता क्या बस आंसर भी सारे फ्रेंड बना लो ना।
अर्चू अर्चू अरे एक की चाहिए एक तो कैपिटल होगी पैसे हो गए हैं एक हो गया इंप्लायर्स होर मैं तो हले उदा तेन क्या
ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਠੀਕ ਆ things we have to make a
ਇਹ
model
ਨਹੀਂ
of
ਆਇਆ ਸਰ ਨੇ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ show me list of business domain ਦੀ
ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਪ੍ਰੋਪਰਟੀਜ਼ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਫਿਰ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਨੀ ਬਸ
ਮਨੀ ਹਾਂ
ਮਨੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਪਰਟੀ ਐਂਡ
ਬੋਰਡ ਕੀ
ਬੋਰਡ ਹੋਣਾ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਇਹ ਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਣੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਸਰਚ ਮਾਰ ਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਹਾਊ ਡੂ
ਆਹੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਡੋਮੇਨ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਮੋਨੋਪਲੀ ਦਾ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਸੀ ਇਹੀ ਆ
ਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਮੋਨੋਪਲੀ ਇਹੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਗੇਮ ਆ ਇਹ ਇਹ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਪੈਸੇ ਪੂਸੇ
ਇਹਲੇ ਤਾਂ ਆਹੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਡਾਈਜ਼ ਮਨੀ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਰੂਲਸ ਰੈਗੂਲਰ ਡੋਮੇਨ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਰੂਲਸ ਐਂਡ ਰੈਗੂਲਰ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਕੀ ਲਿਮਿਟਸ ਮੇਰੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਕੈਪੀਟਲ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਮੈਨ ਪਾਵਰ ਹਾਂ ਮੈਦੀ ਲੈ ਲੈਣਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ
ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹੀਏ
ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੁਣ ਦੱਸੋ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ
ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਮੈਗੀ ਕਰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਆ ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ
ਆਹ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਕਟ ਐਂਡ
ਕੈਂਸਰ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ
ਹੈ
ਉਹ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੋ ਗੱਲ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੋਈ
ਕੈਂਸਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ
ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਧਰੋਂ ਭੇਜਿਆ ਨਾ ਕਰਕੇ
ਬਣ ਗਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਵਧੀਆ
ਕਿੱਥੇ ਦਾ
ਸਪੇਨ
ਕੌਣ ਕਰਦਾ
ਮੱਖਣਾ ਤਜੀਰਾ ਆ
ਅੱਛਾ
ਇਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਦੋਨੇ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਇਹ ਅੱਧੇ ਦੇ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਲਾਣੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ
संदीप प्लीज अपना माइक ऑफ कर लो
All right, guys, I was overhearing some of the discussions you were having during your planning. So that was great. You all did a good job there. I'm going to just clear away. I have to put this away because if I lose any of these things, Ashley will really be mad at me. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes now to clean up my table, and then we will begin working on, excuse me, going through your list and doing our program design. So we're going to do that now. Hang on. All right, guys, can you give me a mic check? Can you just say, oh, I wasn't talking before. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I
Yes,
wasn't
sir.
talking. Thank you very much for the feedback. Okay, so now let's get to work and let's take all of your ideas. And I guess the best way to do it, maybe if I copy and paste it. Now, the other thing we're going to learn here is some of the concepts involved in designing software, right? So there is systems analysis and design from the sort of a theoretical point of view of how we make the program. But then there's also unified process tells us that we have to be aware of the project management aspects of our work. So we're going to work as a team. Initially, it's going to be me as sort of the team leader, and all of you are my team members. And then later on, it's going to be you working in teams of 4 or 5 by yourself. But in all cases, unified process requires us to contemplate that a software development project is a project like any business project. So we need to have some project management around it. And we're not going to go too heavy on that here, but I know from experience that if we don't organize ourselves initially up front a little bit, it's going to be kind of, it's going to get messy later on. Hang on, Peanut's been chewing up his toys and putting little bits of lint all over the floor. It's distracting. I'm just going to put something away. I'll be right back. Hang on. All right, so let's start our project formally now. And again, pay attention. We're recording this. We're going to write it all down, but eventually it's going to kind of be on you to do this by yourself for the project. So this is your apprenticeship, and then later on you have to do the job by yourself. So let's get to work on that. Oh, 2 people have entered the waiting room. Yeah, I got to fix it up so people don't have to wait in the waiting room. I don't know why that's happening. Anyway, that's a problem for another day. All right, nobody else is in the waiting room. I guess we're all pretty good now. Shpreet Kaur is still in the waiting room. All right, let's get them in. Okay, let's proceed. So I'm going to make another slide here in our PowerPoint because I'm using this like a whiteboard. And then later you'll have this one reference when you're working on your own assignments and so on. You can just look back, or somebody will ask me a question. They say, how do I get started or whatever? And then I'll point you back to this slide. So let's do that now. So starting our IT project. So the first thing we need to do is make a document, which is called the software specification document. And some of you guys were giving super good ideas in there. You said you want it to be mobile phone friendly and so on. Great. And we will talk about how we actually deploy our project later on. Because one of the things I wanted to talk about was how do we make an information system on a web server. And I'm going to tell you guys something. You are actually the first class of like 10 years or something that I've been running this project. You guys are the first ones who actually spoke to the issue of how do we get it out into the hands of users so they can play it. So eventually, meaning in about 3 or 4 weeks or something, we will start to study about the kind of information system. In fact, I think I talked to you about it on week 1 in our mind map here. Changed or moved. What are they? Oh, let's try this again. Mind Manager 22. There we go. Oh, there we go. BU1183. That's us. So what we're working on right now is the analysis phase, right? Planning. Well, we do need to do a little bit of planning. So the way we're going to do that in terms of our Monopoly game is we're going to make the software specification document. And that is a document in which we record and we plan everything related to our project. So let's get that going. So understanding the business domain, right? That's what we're doing now in our Monopoly game. Unified process, not so much. An alternative, if you're doing something on a smaller scale, an alternative is to make a mechanical model, which we did with our Monopoly board. Monopoly Monopoly board. So we're going to start doing this stuff now, right? We're going to forward generate our Java code from our mechanical model. That's an alternative, which in practice, often you do that, right? Because the amount of work involved in doing a full unified process implementation with use cases, unless it's a very big project and you have a lot of people working on it, if you're just one programmer by yourself, which very likely most of you will be in that situation for the first couple of years of work, it is really an overwhelming amount of work to do user stories, requirements documents, use cases, and UML by yourself. So if you're in that situation, if you're just in a company as a programmer and they ask you to do something, you know, just draw like a little concept on a piece of paper or something, and then jump directly into getting your Java code and your database tables kicked out from there. So for the Monopoly game, you will forward generate your database code as well as your Java classes directly from whoever's drawing on the screen. Stop it, you're bothering me. For the Monopoly game, you will forward generate your database tables, schema we call it is the formal name, and Java classes from your mechanical model, which is this, right? So that's the thing we made right there. Where's my picture? From that, that's what we mean by the mechanical model. Let's say clear all drawings. This is a way you can turn off annotation. Ah, oh, Spotlight. I don't even know what some of this stuff is. Oh, Spotlight, interesting. Anyway, I'll figure this out later. So yeah, anyway, maybe I should put a copy of this in our map so we have everything together in one place from your mechanical model. All right, we're doing good. We're doing good work here. So anyway, this gets to the idea now of the software specification document. All right, that's better. So let's do that. So here's our software specification document, and I'll make it for everybody right now, but then I'll kick it out as a template for you guys to carry on with. Because the Monopoly game, I'm basically going to be doing it for us, but then I'm going to make another similar project, which you're going to do by yourself in your own teams. Oh, actually, where I got into this was somebody, one of our specifications, they said about making it available to play on a laptop or a mobile phone. So that actually touches on the idea here, and I don't want to spend too much time now because we've got many other things to do. But we are going to talk about the idea of how we handle the build and deployment process. Oh, right here. Yeah. So I'm going to make this as an example. I actually had something else in mind for the web application, but it does sound like a pretty good idea. So when we get to the thing where we deal with web services information systems, we'll fold that in. We'll see how we can use some React and Angular and some simple frameworks to make the game playable over. And I think that would be very exciting. I think that would be great. All right. So let's make our software specification document now. And I'm going to use this document and I'm going to capture all of your suggestions. Everything that all of you put into the chat box are all amazing ideas. We don't want to lose them. And the purpose of the software specification document is to have one place where we can organize all our information. Monopoly. Project Monopoly game. Why is it not making a new folder? Maybe my system is out of CPU again. Let's see what else I can turn off here. Yeah, 100% again. Oh, I don't need OBS Studio anymore. I can turn that off. Why can't things just go properly one day without having so much problems? I can't make a new folder here for some reason. It's okay. You guys are going to be working with the command line, so I'll make this as an example of using the command line. So I just opened my command terminal. I now have to change to this directory. So I'm going to say CD. Oh, finally, now it's caught up with me. %50 CPU shouldn't be that much. Why is it so sluggish? Monopoly. Sorry guys for the delay. I don't know why my computer is being so slow right now. but I got to save this document. I don't want to lose it if the things lock up or whatever. Maybe I can turn Chrome off. I don't think I'm doing anything with Chrome right now. I'm going to close some of these things down. See, because there is how much CPU your computer is using, there's also how much memory it's using. Google, Microsoft Teams, I don't even need Microsoft Teams. Why is that on? Jesus, this is locked up. All right, maybe if I close down a few more applications, things will get faster. An error occurred. It did it, really. Okay, this is starting to catch up now. All right, good. All right, so now that I've saved this, I'm going to go over to the chat comment and I'm just going to grab everything you guys typed in and then we'll organize it into a few categories of lists. By the way, there is something you're going to be doing at work as an IT developer called JAD, Joint Application Development Session, meaning many programmers sit together in the same room, maybe with a whiteboard or something, or over a Zoom meeting or something. Development session. So we're doing a JAD session right now. You're my programming team. I'm the information architect. We've been hired by a client who wants us to design this game for Monopoly. And I'm going to try to run this as close as I possibly can to the experience you'll actually have at work doing this for a paycheck. So let's see how that's going to happen now. So let's go to our chat comments. And I guess the best way to do this, you're unable to hear me. So Joss Winder, now you can't hear me. Now it's a problem because I'm not sure
Yes,
if that you can hear me now. Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
I guess that was from. All right, I just wanted to double check that. All right, so let's copy this whole thing. So lots of good ideas there. That's great. And I guess the best way to do it, I'm actually going to do this using Google Sheets because I can kick out the link and then if you guys can jump in there and edit it as well. Now that seems to work pretty well for a joint application development session. So I have to start Chrome again. I hope that doesn't. I don't know why Chrome takes so much memory. Like, what are they doing exactly? You know, they say that Chrome tracks everything you're doing. You're better off to use another browser called Brave, which I don't really care in my case because I'm a pretty boring guy. I don't do anything interesting anyway. But the Brave browser, they say you can download it for free. And that apparently is, you know, it doesn't do any of these because apparently Chrome sends everything you're doing to Google headquarters to go and study it. My answer is all of my stuff is on YouTube anyway. If you want to just go and look there. But if any of you were leading a secret life as a spy or a, you know, one of these like James Bond type guys or something, use brave to keep your covert activities secret. All right, drive.google.com. All right, let's make a folder for our project. Mono, P-O-L-Y, there we go. And now we'll make a Google Sheet to be our planning sheet. So we'll say planning sheet. Holy business domain analysis. That's what we're doing. We're doing the business domain analysis. And now thesis, like a math, like analysis is like if you're doing a math problem or something like algebra or calculus, and then you study it mathematically to figure out how it works. Well, in a sense, we're using a sort of a similar analytic approach to understanding the elements of our business domain and how they work together. There we go, business domain. So let's paste in all of your stuff and then let's organize it into little categories. Okay, that worked pretty well, I think. So some of this stuff is just, you know, hello or something, so it's not too much relevant to what we're talking about. So that stuff I'll just delete. And the other stuff I'll move over to the right column. Und all right, so these things we can delete. Here is a video, right? We've already talked about how Monopoly works, so I guess you don't need that anymore. All right, this stuff is not relevant. Delete rows. And also, I guess we can, we'll just make a note here to just keep everybody's attention focused that the purpose of this project or the learning outcomes of this project. First of all, to learn how to write Java, an object-oriented Java application, and a SQL database. Yeah, you're going to be doing both of those. So we're going to learn it by actually doing this project. To learn how to make
Sir, I want to ask something.
Go ahead, yeah, listening.
So these are the elements that you are telling for the system domain?
Yes. These, well, these are the chat comments that you guys posted in the chat. So you guys got so many good ideas there. I don't want to lose any of them. So we're going to take all of your ideas and, you know, organize them. And then if there's a couple of things I need to add, I'll add that in here. So yes, right now we're organizing our project. We're making ourselves clear on understanding what we're doing and why. And we're doing the summary of all of the concepts the class came up with for what should be in our Monopoly game. Because I already saw one thing, which is great, that I didn't even think of myself. Somebody said about making it work on a phone or a laptop. So we can definitely do that because we are going to be building web applications in this class. And there might be some other good ideas I didn't even see. So I just don't want to lose any of your good work. So our work right now is to just capture the class discussion that took place in the chat comments. Yeah, good question. Thank you. All right, we'll give ourselves a break in a couple of minutes, but I just want to get this done first. And I'm just reminding us here now that the reason of this thing, because we're going to be spending about 4 weeks of our class, of our 14 weeks of course, we're going to be spending about 4 of them. So that's a lot. That's like 30% of our class. And I want to make sure you guys know what you're supposed to be learning from this. So number 1 is to learn how to write a Java object-oriented application to model, to represent, to work with the same rules of. That's what model means, to deliver the same behaviors of something else. Learn how to write a Java application to model the business domain. Of the monopoly game. And second, to learn how to make a SQL database, because there's other kinds of databases besides SQL. And we will talk about NoSQL databases like Google Firebase. That will be a future activity. But for right now, we're going to learn how to make a SQL database to contain the data for our game. So where are we going to store the information on properties, players, who has how much money is in the bank? Well, we're going to make tables in a database to organize all of that. And then we're going to see how we connect from our Java code to our database. And then eventually the thing we'll do later on is to connect it to a web server so somebody could play it over a web page. So learn how to make a SQL database to store the operating details of a game. And then further on, we're going to learn how to connect our Java application to a HTTP web server. And if you haven't studied networking and you don't really know what that means, just let it go for right now. We'll go back and take care of that in a future class. Learn how to connect our Java application to an HTTP server. So people can play the game over a web page interface. Players can play the game over a web page interface. No, let's say web page. All right, good. So I'm just going to make a little diagram to help us statement, because right now in the initial phases of our joint application development session, I need to make sure I'm painting a word picture. I need to make sure you understand what we're doing and why, and then we can go into the how part of making it happen. So now here, this circle in the middle, this is where we're going to put our Java code to implement the business rules of the game. We call that the algorithms. Algorithm just means the set of steps that it takes to make a result happen in a computer program. So here in this middle circle, we're going to put our Java code to implement the rules, the algorithms of the business domain, which is the monopoly game rules. Monopoly game. And then, because a monopoly game can last a very long time. I mean, I've seen games last for 2 weeks or something. So if we want to play for a while and then close the game and come back and start again later, we probably want to remember all of our data points. But one problem with computer code like Java code is all the data is stored as what's called volatile variables. And if I'm going to write it down and I'm going to go to more details later, but for right now, just listen to me. So in a program, all of your data is stored in variables which are volatile. That means they evaporate quickly, like nail polish remover. If you leave the lid off, it dissolves into the air, it evaporates, it's volatile. So we want to have a way to create data persistence. So if we feel like playing for 1 hour and then put the game away and start again tomorrow, we want the game program code to remember how much money and which properties each player owned. So therefore, we're going to set up a persistence layer, which is a database, and we're going to store all of our data in the database, and that is permanent storage, right? So you can come back a month later and pick up the game exactly where you left it off. So here is going to be our database, which initially will be a SQL, and later it will be Google Firebase. And the other thing we're going to need now, so in our initial version of the game, we'll play it on the screen, on the keyboard, but that's going to kind of be limited to one person. So then everybody, all the players have to, you know, just work with one screen and one keyboard. Man, that's going to be kind of, I don't know, not very, you know, pleasant. Maybe somebody else is eating a hamburger and you don't want them to get their greasy fingers all over your keyboard or something. So we're going to make a distributed interface, a web interface, so everybody can just log into a web page and then they can share the experience of playing that game across a web interface. So we're going to have a web server for players to access our game via their own phone, right? Somebody said they want to play on a phone. So any device that can run a web browser, you can play on. For players to access via their own device with a browser. And this is actually a very common design pattern in the IT world, which is called model view controller. So when we finally finish the final rendition of this, this will be the so this will be the view, because this is where people get the user interface, call it the point, and this is called the view, right? This is my, oh, you can't hear my voice, really. All right, let's fix that up. Hang on here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
So thank you.
Yes,
Yeah, maybe I just touched that control again. I'll just put it away. Thank you so much for the feedback. So now this is the view. This is how users access the program. And some of you might have had the experience of Amazon.com, right? You go there to buy a book or something. So this is how Amazon.com or any e-commerce website works. So we have an HTML page, and then we have a database. So if you log into Amazon, you know, it'll show, you can see your purchase history, all the stuff you bought before. So that's called the model. That's where we store our business data. And you can also store your business rules in the database as well. That's why it's called a model, because it's the model of our business. We store our business data and we can store our rules here as well. So things like every time the player passes go, their amount of money is incremented by $200. That's an example of a business rule. And finally, we have the controller. So that's where you put your algorithms that controls how the game unfolds, how things happened, controls interaction with the players. So this is the controller. This is the code we write to implement our algorithms, our business rules of Monopoly. So anyway, you're going to learn to write a model view controller application. Some of you might have heard that term. Well, now you see what it looks like. And it says in the course outline that I'm supposed to teach you about the common types of information systems in use in business today. And later on in a future project, we will learn about microservices, right? This is actually the first half of it. Model view controller is the older way of doing it. And 80% of the world runs on it, right? Anything which has been around for 10 years or more is very likely model view controller. However, the new way, new systems, which you might be working on for your employer, if it's a brand new system, they're starting from the ground up, probably they will be using microservices. Well, we'll talk about that another day. For right now, we're learning model view controller. We will create a model view controller application to deploy our Monopoly. Eventually, I figure out how to spell that game. I just jumped over to here to level set you guys to give you a clear understanding of where we're going and why. Now it is 10:15 and we're going to be ending up at 10:50, but I really would like to finish this. I'd like to pull out all your ideas. Let's do this together now. So some of these things we don't need right here. Hang on, I'm just going to turn something off. Yeah. So we don't need this. And I want you to remember that what I am doing right now is something that you are probably going to be doing at work many times, whether you're a programmer, a manager, a business analyst, or anybody working in any part of a company in the modern algorithm economy. This is how they develop new systems. Doesn't necessarily have to be a software system, could be a financial system, a fulfillment system. That's how you get product to customer, an internal document management system for your own team. But this is how we do it. We get everybody to say, we crowdsource their knowledge. So one thing we can contemplate here is we're doing what's called crowdsourcing knowledge. So we're getting everybody's ideas and insights and experiences. And that's a common practice in a joint application development session. I just want you to understand this is not sort of a little side thing we're doing. This is actually a very core, pivotal part of the development process I'm teaching you. The software development process starts with gathering requirements as well as gathering people's ideas. So this is important. This is not a side thing. This is a central thing. All right. So yes, whoever was asking about phone access, yeah, we're going to set up a web page for you, but you do need a laptop in this class and in all your classes here at college to write the tests and so on. You can't write the tests on a phone. So whoever said that, find a friend or somebody, find some laptop somewhere to use during this course, please. You're not going to be able to finish the work and pass the course if you don't have a laptop. All right, so let's clear some of this stuff out. And this actually is our picture, our model of our Monopoly board. So let's save that. That might be useful later. No, I'm going till 11 o'clock. Just a second. Okay, guys, so I want you to take a couple of seconds now. Just think if you can come up with anything else to add. I'll be back in a couple of seconds and we'll keep going.
ब्रेक नहीं है ब्रेक है की बोल लो कोई
कैमरा ऑन करके बोलो जेड़ा भी बोल रहे
नहीं ब्रेक नहीं हैगी ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਆਇਆ 2 ਮਿੰਟ ਚ
ਸਰ ਦੀ ਵਾਈਫ ਨੇ ਬੁਲਾਇਆ ਸਰ ਨੂੰ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ
ऐश कर ले कैमरा ऑन मन्नू कह रही है आप करी कैमरा ऑन सर ने फाड़ के ना तन्नू जिथे लगाई है तो ओ बस 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 फिर आप सेंड दी बैंड च लगी है सानू कैमरे ऑन करा दिया तो
मेरे कोल 3 नंबर है गया फ्रेंड दा देन आई है ठीक है
बहुत बढ़िया इन्ना स्ट्रगल अपने ਲਈ ਤੇ ਲੱਗ ਗੱਲ फ्रेंड क्या बात
करना चाहिए
Guys, let's get back to this now. Come on, let's go here. Shh. I'm going to mute everybody if you're not quiet because we have to work. So okay, so here's some other stuff that's just background information. Okay, so here's some good concepts now. So here's the kind of thing I was looking for. So here are things that we need to pull out. So let's put that over there. Those are concepts we need to program. Good. We need to analyze the market and the customer needs. Yeah, that's a good idea. But we're not going to do that right now. So whoever suggests, Shubham, I think, yeah, that's true. But the Monopoly game is so simple. We kind of already know what's going on. But for future activities, we will definitely look at some user requirements planning. Yes. So now somebody is saying we need players. Yep, we didn't have players yet. So let's put that here.
the player is already written above below
Oh
right.
yeah, we already have that. Okay, well, it's players. It's actually multiple. So we'll just keep the pluralized version. Thank you for catching that. Great. How do we make a list? Well, in the future classes, I'm going to share a document system called coda.io, which is actually meant for this kind of work. But for right now, I didn't want to make it too complicated. You guys use the chat box, which is great. Yeah, so how our software works and fulfills customer needs, yes, but not for this project. For a future project, we'll talk about it. Extra services provided by our software. Yeah, that's right. Those would be maybe when we get to some future projects, we'll contemplate that. We need a programmer to build the software. Well, that's you. We already have the programmers. That's you. We need investments and we need business analytics. Yep. Again, I'm not saying these ideas are not important. They're just a little bit bigger right now. We're just having a very simple requirement, which is to just write some code, but we'll get to these other ideas later. We need to make a model of a Monopoly game. Yep. So somebody has some good ideas here. Board, players, properties, dice. All right, let's put this up here. We'll do it side by side with this other one. Maybe there's some extra things here that we didn't get yet. Employers, probably we don't really have the concept of employers in this game, so we'll get rid of that. Product, yeah, again, good ideas, but not relevant for here. Internet access, yeah, that would be a good consideration. Well, we're sort of assuming people already have that, so create a website with an email address. Yeah, maybe we'll set up a website, but that'll be further down the road. Computers, file sharing, yeah, all good ideas, but a bit bigger than what we're dealing with right here. So right now we're just going to, and in fact, one of the topics we talk about in project management, because this is a project management document, one of the topics we talk about is scope. So in the project management document, which is what this is, we talk about the idea of scope, which means how big or how small are we working, and what's the scale that we're working. And our scope right now is pretty small. So our scope is to just make a standalone Java program with a database. That's all, to implement monopoly rules. And one of the tasks you will have when you're a project manager at work is identifying what features should be in the project plan and which are not in scope for the current project plan. Now, having said that, there's a thing called the agile backlog where you can keep a record, you can store ideas which are good, but not things you want to work on right now. So right now, our current project scope is to make a Java program and database to implement the rules of the monopoly game. So we're not really going to be too concerned right now with setting up a website or, you know, having an email list or something. We might later. Maybe this is so good we want to make a business out of it and we want to have an email list to advertise it to potential customers, but not in this rendition of the project plan. So that's going to be what we're going to stick with right now. So it's our scope document. Why can't I click and drag things around? Oh, there we go. So if I ever ask you on a test, what is the concept of scope in the project plan? And all of this stuff is in your PowerPoints on project management, which I shared with you before, and we'll review it more later. But the concept of scope is how big or how small is the delivery intention for a particular project that we're working on. All right, it's 10:25. We have about another 20 minutes, I think, before we wrap up. So let's finish up here. So once again, property, finances, employers, yeah, good ideas, but out of scope for this version of the project. Yeah, so product, logo of company, yeah, again, good ideas, but not appropriate for right now. I'm just looking for things that meet our current scope, project scope. Oh, monopoly, money, dice. Yeah, so here's some ideas. Let's see if we've captured all of these. So I think there's some new ones there we haven't talked about yet. So dice, yeah, we've got dice. Monopoly money, yeah, we've got money. The bank. Actually, let's merge these two lists first. So board, players, properties, dice, money, and cards. So dice, we already have. Money, we have. Oh, there's money right there. Cards. Well, we have a card. We have a board. And we have player. Yeah, so this list has been captured. We have all the stuff there. Now let's go up here. So bank. Oh, here's a new one. So before we didn't get bank. So this, whoever put this here caught the concept that we need the bank. Just going to get rid of these numbers. And let's sort this alphabetically to make it easier to identify what all the elements are. So here I'm going to say sort, data, sort. So you're going to find out that Excel or Google Sheets are a very commonly used term in project management because it's very fast and simple and easy to push things around on them. So here we don't have any duplicates. Nope, that's all good. So let's go back to this list. Bank. Yep, we have bank. We have money, business domain, property. Oh, business domain. All right, let's see what they're saying here. So we have properties. Yep. We have players. Yep. Rent. Oh, see, here's a new one. You guys know this is the first one they thought of this year. We need to manage the concept of rent. Yes. Rules are required to move further. So that is a very good thing that they captured there. However, how can I explain this? That's like the universe, right? That's the big container of everything. All of these things are little things that go with inside of the business domain, but the rules actually are the total encapsulation of everything. They're going to be a cross-cutting concern. So every one of these things. So just going to check back to the comments to see if anything else is going on I need to know about. All right, not yet. Well, we have about another 20 minutes roughly. So the concept of the rules of the game, which is what they're talking about here, that is going to be a cross-cutting concern across every one of these things. Every one of these is going to become a Java class. And that Java class, and I haven't taught you Java yet, I have to go and do that now. But for right now, believe me when I say that a Java class has two things. So a Java class has two members. It has data and it has methods. So actually, maybe I can just start to summarize this over here. So Java class.
Sir, I need to ask something.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Sir, I have a doubt that at that time when you were asking about to write the elements of the system domain, that we considered that the elements that we required is for the Java classes. But how we can relate this database table and Java class to the monopoly? As you are writing
that's called unified process. Those are user stories and unified process. And it's actually very perceptive of you. I'm glad that you're jumping ahead to capture that, because many classes, I'm like week 8 into a 14-week course, and people still don't understand. Even when I explain what you just said, they still don't understand it. You have actually jumped a little bit ahead. Sorry, who am I speaking to?
So Mankiran.
Oh, Mankiran. So Mankiran, I want you to remember that question, write it down in your notebook, or hopefully I will remember it as well. But I'm going to speak about your question next week, because what my personal plan is, I would like us to start to write some very simple Java code, because most people, and I think probably you could already go ahead and handle it, but many people, many students in the initial phases, if I make it too up in the air, cloudy, abstract, they don't really relate to it in their thinking. but you're obviously jumping ahead, so that's great. So the concept there now is we have something called in unified process, we have user stories, and user stories, use cases. Actually, that would be a more accurate answer to your question. So Mankiran's question is, how do we relate the elements of the Java class? So I'm going to have a Java class for bank, board, card, dice, money, players, properties, rent, maybe some other things possibly as well. So now Mankiran's question is, how do I relate those Java classes to the concepts of the business domain? Well, let's take a couple of seconds to stop and think about that right now, because if you're wondering about it, when you have a question which is not answered, often that question sort of, it gets in the way, right? It kind of perhaps prevents you from seeing other things because your brain is being held back. But I know I'm like that anyway. So let's go and try and answer Mankiran's question in the PowerPoints. Let's see if we can start to give some explanation of that. So I'm going to turn my PowerPoint back on.
Sir, I asked this question because I was getting confused.
Not a problem, and that's actually one of the very core central parts of our course. So that means you're very tuned in to what we're talking about. That's great. That's amazing. So let's try and see if we, oh, I have a chat comment coming in. Oh yeah, tokens. Oh, chance cards. That's right. So we have the chance cards, and what's the other one? We have two kinds of cards. And the old Monopoly was called chance.
Community card.
Community cards. Thank you. Yeah, very good. So remember that. I don't want to get pulled in too many directions, but whoever or Mandeep, you remind me of that in a minute. But we're going to go and answer Mankiran's question first here. So let's see about this. So in unified process, we relate the business domain concepts to the programming domain concepts through use cases, right? So in unified process development methodology, which is what all of the things we're doing here sit inside. In unified process, methodology, we connect, we join business domain concepts like community cards or cash or houses, hotels, properties, buildings, I guess you could say on properties. Oh, I have another chat comment coming in. Title card, yes, exactly. So title card, so write all of that stuff down. Mandeep, I'm counting on you to remind me of that in a minute because I will probably forget about it by the time I answer Mankiran's question, but Mandeep is going to remind us. So let's go back and finish this up. I think we have just enough time to finish this up for today's class. So in unified process development methodology, we use I don't want to repeat the word use. I'll say use cases. Are the tool that shows us the connection of connection between so use cases are the tool that shows us the connection between business domain elements whoops, hang on here. And program domain, Java code elements, program domain elements. And I'll make more examples of this as we go forward. But briefly, and I think probably you guys have watched my video and you've read some of the stuff I sent out before. I'm going to go and summarize it again here. And now that we're getting more into this, you'll probably understand it a bit more. So for next week, I'd like you to do the following homework. And this might answer a bunch of your questions by itself, I hope. If not, we can talk about it more. So So I want you to watch this video, which is it's very information dense. It's about 7-8 minutes, and it goes through the material pretty quickly because I made that video at the conclusion of a previous term's class when the students had already seen all the buildup. However, if you're already starting to think about things like connecting programming domain to business domain, now that we get into writing our Java code, I am going to make examples to show you that. But if you can't wait, if you're a type A personality and you have to have it all right now, you can go and watch this video. So for next week, watch this. And also, you can read several other things here. Like there's a bunch of stuff here that's quite relevant, but basically you could read everything in this entire directory. So read the PowerPoints in this directory. And instead of spending too much time on Kiran answering your question in a sort of a general theoretical sense, I'm going to start writing some Java code, and I'll maybe have time for like maybe the first one class or something today, but next week we'll carry that on, and I will make examples as I speak. Like I'll show you, I will actually draw on paper. I'll shine my camera on a piece of paper and we will design the classes, and then we will also connect it back to our business requirements. That I think will probably be more effective and satisfying explanation than if I just sort of use a bunch of words to try and explain the concept. So I promise you that we're going to address your concern. And I told you guys the story last week, right? Didn't I? Did I tell you the story about the young warrior who wanted to be a great fighter? Did I tell you that story about as they went to the master and asked the master to teach them to fight? Hello, Jaswinder. If you don't remember the story, I didn't. All right, so this story might be quite applicable now. So I'm going to tell, because I don't know if I tell the same story over and over again, it's boring, but I don't remember what I told. So here's the story. They say that in the olden times, there was this young warrior, a young person like all of you guys are, and they wanted to be a great fighter. They wanted to be a great master. And the people in the village told them, if you climb up the mountain, you have to climb up the mountain barefooted without any equipment or something, because master has to see that you're serious, right? The master has to believe that you really desire to have this training. You have to show you're serious. So this young person said, okay, I can do that. So she climbed up the mountain, spent an entire day, and then when the sun was going down, just when she was starting to think, Jesus, I'm going to die here, I'll die on this mountain. But she got up to the monastery, to the training dojo, And she went to the master and said, "Master, I'm presenting myself to you. I want you to take me on as your student. I want you to teach me how to fight and how to be a great warrior like you are." And master looked at her and he said, "Well, I believe you're serious, right? I saw you climbing the mountain. I was actually about to send some of my other students to come and bring you up because I was worried for a minute that you might not make it, but you got here by yourself. You're pretty strong. You're pretty intent of mind, I believe. So yes, I will take you on as a student." And she was so excited. She thought, "Okay, great. Master, what do I do first?" And master said, "Well, it's supper time. It's the end of the day. All of the students have been training pretty hard. Go and clean the rice and make everyone's supper." And the student said, "Okay, I'm new here. I have to work my way up. I get that." So she went and cleaned the rice and served it and made everyone's supper. And then in the morning, she ran to the master and said, "Okay, master, what do I do now?" Master said, "Clean the floor." He's testing me, she thought. I have to prove that I'm serious, she thought. So she went and did a very good job of cleaning the floor. And then at lunchtime, she said, "Master, what do I do now?" Master said, "Well, it's lunchtime. Cook the rice and serve lunch." "Yes, master." And then in the afternoon, "What do I do now?" "Well, go out to the garden. You know, we have a big garden here. We grow a lot of our own vegetables to have good, healthy food. Go and clean the garden and bring in the vegetables that are right." So for about 2 weeks, this went on. Clean the floor, cook the rice, work in the garden. After 2 weeks, this young woman went to the master and said, "Master, I want you to teach me how to fight. You promised you would. I've done everything you said. I've proven myself obedient and I listened to you. I want you to teach me how to fight. That's why I'm here." Master said, "Well, I believe you're serious, right? I had to test you because I don't want to teach my fighting skills to somebody who might put them to a bad use. But you seem very sincere and focused, and I like you. I think you're a good person. So today I'm going to teach you how to fight." And she was excited. She said, "Great. What do I do first?" I said, "Well, it's lunchtime. Go and cook the rice." "Yes, master." But as she was cleaning the pot to prepare the rice, the master snuck up behind her with a sword and he whacked her across the back really hard. Now, it was a bamboo sword. It was a piece of wood. It wasn't steel. So it didn't really injure her, but it was painful. It was shocking. And she was like, "Jesus, what was that for?" And anyway, this carried on for the next several days. She was cleaning the garden. Master came behind her, whacked her with the sword. Cleaning the floor, whacked her with the sword. And she realized after the first day that she was becoming hyper aware. Her brain was becoming very sensitized to everything around her. And any of you who've studied martial arts, you know about the concept of Muno Kokorin, mind like moon. The moon shines down equally on every part of the ground. It just doesn't focus here or there. So she realized her body would just jump without her even knowing it. She'd use the broom or the gardening hoe or the cooking pot or whatever was in her hand. She would use it to block the master's attack. And this went on for a couple of weeks. And finally she said, "Master, I want you to teach me how to fight." And master said, "You already know how to fight. In the past week, I have not been able to sneak up on you. Whenever I tried to sneak up, your mind was trained, you were aware, and you blocked the attack, and I cannot attack you. And learning to defend yourself is the first part of learning how to fight. So today, right now, I'm going to teach you sword technique. So put on your training garment, your gi, meet me in the dojo. Now I'm going to teach you sword technique because now you're ready to receive it. If I would have tried to teach you on the first day, you would not have been ready to receive it. Now I'm going to teach you sword fighting." And the purpose of this story is, first of all, your mind has to be trained to be receptive to the knowledge before I present it. If I would have taught you about use cases on the day one of the class, you would have had no sensibility, like, well, what the hell is he talking about? What's an actor? What's a business process? But now that we've seen this business process of monopoly, now you have an understanding. Now you're ready for me to teach you sword technique. Now you're ready for us to start writing Java code. And as we write that code, I'm going to make the connections between writing the code and the elements that are taking place in your business domain. So anyway, I hope that story was inspirational. Now it's kind of an interesting side point. When we were together in class about 3 years ago, when we were together at college, when the students were actually in the room, I used to do that. And one day the academic coordinator, he called me and he said, Peter, some of the students have been saying you've been hitting them with a piece of bamboo in class. What's going on with that? So I told him the story that I just told you. And he said, well, Peter, I believe your heart's in the right place, but you're going to have to stop with this whole hitting students with a stick thing. It's just stop. And I said, but they're my students. I can do whatever I want with them. And he said, Peter, just please, just as a personal favor to me, just stop hitting your students. So I did, but I still think it was a good story. And I still think that if you contemplate on that, maybe the knowledge is not coming as quickly as you want, but I have my reasons, just like the sword master had his reasons for going through a certain procedure. I might be seeming to drag things out a little bit, but eventually we will get you there. All right, guys, so we're kind of getting near the end now because they say I'm supposed to let you guys go 10 minutes before the end, and now it's 10:47. So if you want to leave class, you can, but there are so many good ideas there. I'm worried we might not remember them next week. So I'm just going to stay here for maybe another 5 minutes by myself, and you can stay and hang around with me if you want. Or you can leave, because if you have another class to get to, they say that I am supposed to let the students go a couple of minutes early. So let's see here, which of these things did we not get yet? Because some of these people have been, some of these were added after I did my copy and paste before. So money, property, let me see where we left. You guys can go, by the way. I'm just going to capture this because it's such a nice set of things you put there. I'm just worried I might not remember it later. But let's go and grab that now. So here, oh yeah, so that was the thing. That was the thing that led Mankiran to ask about how do we connect business domain to code. And that is the most pure, simple explanation of what unified process is, by the way. That's a great, in fact, that's such a good question. I'm going to take that question and put it in my course materials from now on. How do we connect business requirements and business domain operation, the business domain in general, we can say? Elements, ingredients, pieces to our Java classes and SQL tables. Well, unified process is the methodology that tells us what to do to make that happen. So we'll say unified process, use cases, no user stories initially, which become requirements documents, and then become use cases, and then become UML, unified modeling language diagram, from which we forward generate Java code and database schema both. And finally, there's another element here, which I usually do not teach in an introductory level class, but you guys seem pretty advanced. So I will also talk about the idea of the traceability matrix. Oops, what did I do here? The traceability matrix. Once again, my thing is spinning. Traceability matrix. All right, guys, I think the way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to capture you. Actually, that's what I was doing. I was just trying to figure out what are the newer set of comments that I should capture. So now we've consumed everything from before. Well, not quite. There's still a bunch of stuff down here. So where we left off is just Window at 9:35. So any comments which have been added after that, I'll put it here, and then we'll carry on next week. And once again, you guys can go if you want, because they tell me I'm supposed to end up the class. Attendance, Harajit, I'm just going to assume everybody was here today. I mean, I can go and look at the chat box as well and the participants list, but I think you guys are pretty excited about this. So for today, sometimes I do a little attendance quiz. We just didn't do that today, but for today, everybody is here. So yeah, you're here. Don't worry, I see you. So everybody has the attendance today. All right, so let me finish this one up here. Chat box. And community cards. Yep. All right. So any other ideas you come up with, just write them down, keep a note on them or something. And then we'll get back to it next week. For right now, I'm just going to dump these all in a text file. So we'll call this our JAD, Joint Application Development Session Input Notes. All right, you guys can go. I'm going to wrap up the class in a minute. I just want to close all this stuff out so we have it handy for next week. Chat inputs. All right, so I've got that. We've already captured that in our project planning document. This is saved safely up there in so things like strategy and so on, a good idea, but remember, like, just keep a note, like you have a little notebook or something handy as you come up with the other ideas, write them down. We'll take care of them next week. All right, guys, take care. I'm going to end the class now. See you later. Bye-bye. All right, so I'm just closing everything so I don't lose any of it here. All right. Okay, this I'm going to put in our Word document. So one of the things you might have gathered from this activity is it's actually a fairly tricky thing to manage requirements, right? And there are professionals in the IT realm of doing things. There are people whose entire job is requirements management, because even just with our little class of 40 people and our little Monopoly game, which is pretty simple, we already have many requirements, and we have to figure out which ones are duplicates and which ones belong together and which ones are in scope and which ones are not in scope. So from actually having done this, you figured out by yourself that requirements management is not an easy thing to do. And because requirements are the whole basis of our project, if you mess up on your requirements, then you can wind up spending a couple of years and several $1 million developing a application that doesn't do the job. right? So that was one good learning outcome for today. I'm not even sure if anyone's here. Class is over if you need to get to your next class. But I'm so impressed. Honestly, you guys are doing great. I just don't want to lose any of your good ideas. So I'm just going to make sure we capture them all here. Bye, everybody. See you later. Thank you. So it all starts with requirements management. And in fact, if you go and look on Workopolis or some job site, you're going to see that there are many jobs which the whole point of it is requirements management, right? We want a programmer analyst who is skillful in the field of requirements management. So what tools and techniques and processes can we build to track, vote on, right? Some systems have voting systems. Among all the developers, they can vote on what they think is important, approve, and then plan the delivery of our requirements. So we have to receive them, right? We have to have a channel for developers and customers to provide their inputs. All right, that's pretty good. So we've done a lot today. That's great. All right, guys, now I'm going to end the class. I think I've got this all, haven't I? And now you understand why project managers get paid a lot, because I'm kind of the project manager here. And after everybody else goes home, the project manager is the one who is there making sure everything is closed out properly. It's also a very well-paying job, so that's okay. Okay, that one I think we've already caught. We've stored that in our systems. All right. Okay, bye everybody. Class is over. And keep track. If you think about ideas for your Monopoly game, just write them in a little notebook or something and bring them to next week. Bye.